It is Pajama Day! What? So, tonight, Saturday night, or if you're watching on a different day, then a different day, it is pajama night for prime time. So if you are not wearing your pajamas right now, and I mean everybody in your family watching this video needs to be wearing pajamas, press pause, go get your pajamas on. Ready? Pause. Okay, does everybody have their PJs on? Good. Okay. Whew. So here's how today is going to look, guys. We're going to worship together, then we're going to have a lesson together, then I'm going to give you another activity to do, and then you can come back and you can watch another video that talks about the activity you just did. Whew. Lots of stuff. Are you ready to get started? That was like a real question that you need to answer back to me, because even though, we're not in the same room together, I need to be able to hear you even louder, that means. So if I ask you a question, you gotta answer it. You gotta answer it loudly so that wherever I am, I can hear you. So let's try this again. I'm ready to worship. Are you guys ready to worship? Okay, I think that was a yes. Okay, let's get started.
There's nowhere you won't go, nothing you won't do, no place that I could hide. You're always in pursuit, I'm never too far gone, always in your side. When I wait for you, you're always right on time. You're always pursuing, always pursuing, always pursuing me. More than the air I breathe.
Come on, guys.
I need you here with me. And you're never gonna stop, never gonna stop. And you're never gonna stop chasing me.
Whoa.
You made a way for me, opened up the door. Jesus, you have my heart, now and forevermore. You're always pursuing, always pursuing, always pursuing me. More than the air I breathe, I need you here with me. And you're never gonna stop, never gonna stop. And you're never gonna stop chasing me. More than the air I breathe, I need you here with me. And you're never gonna stop, never gonna stop. And you're never gonna stop chasing me. You're always pursuing, always pursuing, always pursuing me.
Your love is chasing.
Your love is chasing, your love is chasing, your love is chasing me.
Come on,
You're
guys.
always pursuing, always pursuing, always pursuing me. Oh, your love is chasing, your love is chasing, your love is chasing me. More than the air I breathe, I need you here with me. And you're never gonna stop, never gonna stop. And you're never gonna stop chasing me. More than the air I breathe, I need you here with me. And you're never gonna stop, never gonna stop. And you're never gonna stop chasing me. No, you're never, and you're never gonna stop, never gonna stop. I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be but here in your love, here in your love. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain and I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain and I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more. 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 I want more of you. Hurry up. I want more. 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 I want more of you. Hurry up. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain and I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain and I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God.
Get ready to clap it out, guys. Ready? Loud.
No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be but here in your love, here in your love. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain and I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more, 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 I want more of you. Hurry up. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you,
Woo! Good job worshiping, guys. All right, go ahead, have a seat. I'm gonna pull my sleeves up and I'm gonna take my dinosaur head off for a second. And hi. It's super important that while we're at home, we're still remembering to worship God and tell him how awesome he is. We had somebody who pointed out to us today at our church that, no matter what, even if the building's empty, there are actually daffodils growing next to our sign. And so it's a sign of hope and love and peace from God. So super cool. All right, are you guys ready for our lesson? I'm going to move the camera a little bit, so if it gets wobbly, I'm super sorry. All right, I'm getting close up. Boop. All right, let's see if I moved it enough. I think we're good. Okay, perfect. I'm going to move it up just a tiny bit. Sorry. Okay, so here we are for primetime number 2 on YouTube and Facebook. And I'm gonna bring in my stuff because we have lots of props for our lesson. But if you can't remember, hopefully you can, what is this month's theme? Tell me. Who can tell me? Go ahead, shout it out. What is this month's word of the month? If you said forgiveness, you're correct. Ding, 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 ding. I'm gonna move the slide that you can actually see this week. So forgiveness, we'll move it up close so you get a nice picture of it. Zoop. Miss Danielle's sound effects. All right, forgiveness is deciding that someone who has wronged you doesn't have to pay. Someone who has wronged you does not have to pay. So no revenge, no retaliation, no he hit me first, so I'm gonna hit him back. We've all been there. That doesn't make it right though. So we're still talking about forgiveness. This is week number 4. We have one more week because there are 5 weeks in March, 5 Sundays in March. And so this is not the last week we will have forgiveness. Next week we'll have forgiveness too. So hopefully you'll remember it and you can shout it out next time because you'll be super smart. So, we're talking about Jesus, which means, when I get my trusty Bible out, that we are in the Old Testament or the New Testament. Old Testament or the New Testament. The Old Testament or the New. That was my baby cry. Testament. If you guessed New Testament, that was me waiting for your answer in case you didn't answer, because you should answer me. If you guessed New Testament, you are correct. So we are in the New Testament, and we're actually in the book of Luke. Now, we've been talking about how Jesus talks to people a lot, like crowds of people. Crowds swarm to see all the things that he has said, that he is going to do, the miracles, the healing, the power, the good talks, the lessons about God. Everybody swarms to hear him, right? So, in our story, there's no exception. Jesus is talking to a crowd of people. Actually, Jesus is talking to some religious leaders. Now, religious leaders that Jesus was talking to kind of were like, I'm so much better than everybody else. They didn't understand and didn't like that Jesus talked to everyone. He didn't care if you did wrong things or if you were always good. He didn't care. He talked to them, right? Remember our story of Zacchaeus? Zacchaeus did not do some great things, but Jesus came down and went to dinner at his house with him. So Jesus talked to everybody, and the religious leaders, they were like not really excited about that. So to help them understand, Jesus told them a story. That's right, our story today is a parable, or as I like to call them, a shareable parable, because Jesus shared stories with people to help them see what he was talking about. And we're going to hear about one of those stories today. Now, this is interactive, guys. So what I need you to do is pay attention to the story, and I'm going to have you do things throughout it. Raise your hand if you have your parents taking pictures of you all the time. Like you go outside and you jump on the trampoline and they're like, oh my gosh, that was so good. You look so cute. Let me take a picture. Snap. Does that happen to you? Raise your hand if that's you right now. Yeah, that used to be me too. So my parents would be like, anywhere we'd go to the zoo and be like, Danielle, go take a picture with the elephants. Click, right? Because, parents like to take cute pictures of you. Well, we're going to use that in our story. So anytime I say click, you are going to pose in whatever way the characters are in the story at the time. So if I say that Jesus climbed up a mountain and was exhausted at the top, and then say click, you're going to pretend like you're Jesus at the top of the mountain being exhausted. So I'd be like, oh. And you got to freeze, because you know a picture is frozen. It's not in motion. So you got to freeze. And then I'll say click again, and you'll unfreeze. And then you can sit back down. Got it? Thumbs up if you got it. Everybody thumbs up? Everybody thumbs up? Okay. So here we go. Our story is about one dad, one father, and two sons, a younger son and an older son. And the younger son, so wait, actually, younger son, older son, dad, everybody, click. If you are with family, decide who's going to be which character and be that character in your frozen spots. Click. Good job. So, in our story, we have the father and the two sons, and the younger son walked up to his dad and he said, listen, Dad, I would like my share of your money and your things, and I want them now. Now, this was kind of a mean thing to do, because usually when sons got parts of their father's money and things, it was after the father died. So if the son came up now and asked the dad for that, that was, heartbreaking, right? It was really rude and really mean. And the dad, he was so heartbroken. He didn't know what to do, but he ended up giving his son everything he asked for. So the son took the money, took the things, and packed up and left the house. Now, they lived in a farmhouse because his dad was a farmer. Look at the cows. There's a little lake here. Isn't it beautiful? Who would want to leave that? But he did. And so after he left, he went to somewhere fancy and he spent all of his money. I like to picture him going to like a penthouse, which is like the top of like a giant building that you live in, and it's got like a good view, and he's got like all the best things. Look at that view, and he's got like a great sofa, and he probably has a walk-in closet, and he probably has like this awesome balcony and the coolest clothes, right? So he was buying all of these things for himself, spending his money. He probably had the coolest clothes. He probably had a cook for him. He's buying all these fancy food. He was buying food for people that he didn't even know. The Bible doesn't tell us exactly everything he spent his money on. I just like to picture it that way. But what it does tell us is that he spent all of his money very soon, meaning he had zero money left. And the city that he lived in, the new city that he lived in, was actually running out of food. What are they going to do? So he couldn't, and he wasn't working. So he didn't have money, he couldn't buy any food because they didn't have any food, and so he went and got a job at a pig farm. Now, I know that these pigs look adorable. I mean, look at the little snout. Oh, it's so cute. But there's also mud, and it's gross. And it's probably a lot of hard work that the son didn't really sign up for. He was probably like, oh, I'm gonna go, work, but not really work, but get money and food. But really, it was hard work, and he really still wasn't getting much food. He was actually so hungry that the Bible says, Jesus said, in the Bible, Jesus said that the son was so hungry, he wanted to eat the pig's food. Could you even imagine that? Now they eat like slop, which is like leftovers. So like things that were on somebody's plate and then thrown into a like trough. Super gross. I would not want to eat that. But the son was so hungry, he was even willing to eat the pig's food. So while he was in this place, he finally had this thought and he went, I bet you, actually, you know what? Let's reverse back into that. He's working at the pig's place, right? Wanting to eat the food, click. Unclick, click again. Okay, unfreeze. So while he was here trying to think of how to eat, he finally had this idea and he was like, back on my dad's farm, things were different. Not just for him, but he was like, I remember the way my dad treated his servants, the people who worked for him, and he fed them. They got fed really well. And so he started to think of a plan. He was gonna go home and he was gonna admit that he did the wrong thing. And then he was going to beg his dad to forgive him, beg his dad to let him back in, but not as a son, as a servant. Click. Let me see those begging faces. Click. And this is what he did. He took his stuff, he packed up, and he started going home. I like to picture him going home on the road and going, okay, so I'm going to get there, I'm going to see Dad, I'm going to say, Dad, listen up. Nope, not start there. Be like, Dad, I'm home. Nope. Dad, sorry, don't even look at him maybe, right? When you know you did something wrong, it's super hard to figure out how to apologize, and that's just what I picture him doing in this story. But the Bible says, Jesus said, that when this son was walking home, ready? We're gonna go straight to the Bible because it's that good. Remember, we're in Luke chapter 15, and it said that while the son was still far away off, the father saw his son, and he began running towards him. The father was filled with tender love for his son. He ran to him, he threw his arms around him, and he kissed him. Click. Click. You guys are taking really great pictures. This is pretty crazy, right? This son did something wrong, came home, doesn't even have to say he's sorry, but this father is so excited to see him that he runs towards him. He's running, just like Chasing Me in our song today. He's running towards the man, towards his son, and he throws his arms around him. Now, the son started to give his speech. You ready? So he was like, okay, this is what I waited for. Get your prepared faces on. Click. Click. The son started giving his speech, but before he could even get a word out, Jesus says that the father called to his servants, called them out and told them, bring me a robe to put around my son. He says, bring me a robe, bring me some nice things for my son, a robe, some sandals, because we're going to have, oh no, it's split, guys. We're gonna have a party. So the son does something wrong. He comes home and they're gonna have a party for him because his dad is that excited to see him, guys. His dad is that excited. He's getting all the food ready. He's getting party preparations. He's giving him soft robes and sandals, all these new things, because he forgave him. Guys, the father forgave his son for his wrongdoings. He was so overjoyed that his son, who had once been lost, was now found. Does that sound familiar to you? But the story isn't finished yet, guys. The older son, remember the older son at the very, 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 very beginning? The older son, the whole time, was watching this as his dad was running. He was like, what's he running to? Right? And I wonder how his older son felt, which we're going to talk about next week. Boo, 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 cliffhanger. So we'll tune in next week. But I want to talk more about this forgiveness thing. Jesus told this story to the religious leaders because he wanted them to understand that all of us need to be forgiven. Everybody needs forgiveness, guys. Nobody's an exception. Nobody's perfect. I do wrong things. I'm sure you do wrong things. Give a little finger up if you do wrong things on purpose. That's me too, guys. Sometimes it happens, and then we need to admit that we made a mistake. But the amazing thing is that God forgives us. And this is why, because of Jesus. God sent his one and only son to die on a cross so that when we do wrong things and make mistakes, we can be forgiven by God. How cool is that? And just like the story had son and had a dad, Jesus meant for the dad to be God and for the young son to be us, because when we make mistakes and we are on our way back, we're ready to admit them to God, God grabs us and he says, Miss Danielle, I'm here for you. We're gonna party, right? That doesn't mean that what I did was right or that what I did is totally forgotten, but it means that I am forgiven and you are forgiven too, all because of Jesus. So, here's what your task is. Are you ready? Your task is, I'm gonna tell you, you're going to take tape, okay? So you can use tape, you can use ribbon, you can use yarn, something to make a line on your floor. And what I want you to do is, as a family, you're gonna line up, kind of like last week with the obstacle course. You're gonna start at one end and you're gonna end on the other end. But this time, it's a small piece of tape, and you can't leave the tape, because again, the floor is lava. So, you're gonna walk one foot in front of the other like a tightrope walker and see if you can make it to the other end of the line. Then when you come back, that's round one. Round two is see if you can do that while hopping. I'm gonna get up on stage, hopping on one foot. Then come back for round three, try the other foot. Then come back for round four, and you're gonna go on your tippy top toes and see if you can make it the whole way on that line without stepping off. When you're done with all 4 rounds, and if you wanna do extra rounds, you can think of extra things. You guys are super creative and awesome. I want you to come back, and you're going to hear, what does line walking have anything to do with forgiveness or Jesus or the parable that we just heard? So, until that next video, go have fun, walk in your lines, and I will see you. I'm gonna put up my hood. I'll see you some other time this week in the videos. Bye, guys! Hey guys, Miss Danielle coming at you from a different spot at the end of this video, because I realized that I totally forgot to do announcements. And I wanted to let you know that tomorrow morning, Sunday morning at 11 a.m., we will be streaming a service, our worship service for all of you. I encourage you all to watch it as a family, and you just have to go to ingomar.online.church, or you can go to ingomar.church.org and just click right on our home page, and it'll say watch worship service, something like that at the top. So yeah, 11 a.m. it starts, and then if you miss it at 11, no big deal. You can return to that website and it'll replay it. Also, if you're part of Root, or if parents, you have a Root kid, they will have a Root video posted Sunday night, and then Fish will be Zooming, I think, on Sunday night at 7:30. Megan's not here to help me with that. So, and then Blaze, 4th and 5th graders, we will have your video lesson on YouTube and Facebook at 6 on Monday. I think that's everything. All right. Bye, guys. For real this time.